Right, let's get this long-awaited Mackie tutorial over and done with. Made my overlay just a little bit bigger, just for anyone who wants to try and follow along. Now, I don't play 10, I play 8 aerial, and reason being, aerial sense. That affects base aero. It's essentially like how Zen uses his, like, dynamic, basically just uses a trigger, manage the speed in which his, you know, air rolls. So, you know, if you have it at 1, at 10, it will still reach the same max speed, but you'll just get there sooner. Base air roll, because that's what I use for my Maktufs, and that's the reason why people might really like my Macs or really hate them. It really just depends. I do a sort of variety, so that's sort of the disclaimer for this. This will only help a tiny bit. There might be some info in here that would be handy for anyone trying to learn Maktufs, one thing being rolling out of Maktufs. I'll explain that later. And with aerial sense, I would highly suggest not using anything lower than 4 for base air roll, purely because, right, you can't move. I will go down to, let's say, 2 aerial, and you'll get to watch how wide my air roll actually is, and sort of how I cannot make the movements I need right here. My base air roll isn't too shabby, but it's mostly to do with the movements. When I actually get to the Maktufs, that's if I can get there, I won't be able to get the cancels in time. Obviously, I won't be reaching my max output very quick. And it's the same thing with cancelling. I won't reach my max output very quick. So I'll have a very large gap of just really slow movements, so my cancels will be slow. I also play a very low control dead zone just because I like the fine movements, really fine movements. Playing anything higher than 0.2 is just a hindrance in my opinion. Even if you're trying to stall, like 0.12 should be sound for literally everyone. Now, I'll go with, first off, my wall setup. I set up very far back just so I have space, okay? Just so I have space to cram out as many Maktufs as I physically can. Realistically, it doesn't matter where you practice, as long as you're, you know, going for the Maktufs and whatnot. There's a common issue that I do see with people attempting Maktufs and just general resets. Really, like, hitting the ball really far forwards and then, you know, having to chase after the ball. And thankfully, this can be completely recovered with just experience. But it's a lot more awkward to get the reset, and you have to, you know, use a lot more boost, a lot more time, a lot more effort. And it all just depends on how you get resets. It really does. For just a setup off the wall, you hit the ball just as it transitions between the curb and the sidewall. Literally right here, because that means that you can scoop or sort of chip the ball close to the wall before it hits the sidewall. If you end up hitting it too high on the wall, then you're going to hit it very far away from you. Very far, and you'll have to really chase. Thankfully, I'm going to break out, so I chip the ball closer to the wall anyway. But if you're in Octane, it's far more stress to make sure you get this timing right. So I'll chip the ball, break tap beforehand, like before jumping off the wall, and then land. Now, I like to land facing towards the sidewall, sometimes even further back. Reason being is because as I'm doing my Maktufs, I slowly clock around, and that's with my closer ones. How I'll do my Maktufs, okay, is just as simple as holding base air roll with a diagonal backflip cancel. That's it, just a diagonal backflip cancel. Either left or right, because going from left to right is always handy. That's one of the main benefits of base air roll, is going from left to right. It doesn't matter, you can simply just work on your movements and then sort of translate them over on the other side. It just, once again, you need to put in time, and I've put in way too much time into just Maktufs. My consistency, it varies, it really does. It just depends on what kind of Maktufs I'm going for. There's a few different styles of Maktufs that I'll go for. Whether it's a really crammed sort of cluster style, that will be very quick but very uncontrolled and takes a lot of boost. Or there's, you know, slower, sort of consistent, getting distance going, yada yada. I will quickly show one thing that I did make. It was a quick thing that I was just describing on stream when someone asked, how do I cancel and how do I actually go about it? Now, this red is essentially the further distance Maktufs that I was on about before. This yellow is sort of like how you would normally see a Maktuf. Picture a Maktuf, and that's sort of the ones you're going with. The green is essentially the cluster, the perfect sort of the sweet spot. This middle cross represents your dead zone. That's essentially where you'll do a side flip or a front flip. Now, you'll want to essentially flip in between this little wedge where you don't side flip, because you'll know that you're overdoing it when you're side flipping, and you'll know that you're not pushing far enough and staying level with the side flip when you're doing like a wider flip. There is one key important bit when it comes to this specific close Maktuf. If you have a look at the back left of, like, my back left wheel, it goes over. So it's going over like that. When I get connection on the ball, I will bounce off the ball and be able to go instantly into another. And that's how I can churn them out really quick. But it all just depends on the bounce off. Essentially, try and do a diagonal backflip cancel, but in that diagonal area, in that diagonal section, try and go as low to a side flip as possible on your flip, and on your cancel, as close to a side flip again, but on the other side. So those green areas, and vice versa on the other side for right. It's difficult. It will be awkward, especially if you haven't used Viberzrl before. I'll go into the further distanced Maktufs now, where I'll essentially try and just be more methodic on my Maktufs. I'll pull it as perfectly diagonal as I can think of, okay, is perfectly far back, and I will just, you know, try not to flick it like that. If you flick it like that, then you know that you've cancelled too far down. If you're flicking it, that means that you are cancelling too far down and your nose is getting too far under the ball. It's a very finicky style and it's very awkward, so you have to sort of learn your own niche about it, really. For the more methodic ones, it is just as simple as diagonal backflip cancel, hold the cancel, don't let go. What I'm doing is simply either diagonal upright or diagonal down left. That's all I'm doing. As long as you roll out of it, you can keep your momentum and just carry on going through, just keep the pace going. I'm not going to expect anyone to be able to mimic me, but I do hope people can actually get more efficient than me, because it'll be so interesting to see how other people interpret this, but that's only if people are willing to put in the time, and that's all it takes is time and effort, because I play this game too much and I'm a free play warrior at this point. Maktufs off the wall. The setup wise, it's all about feeling. I wish I could teach it, or like explain how I do it. Try and get into the position as best as physically possible, so it'll be this, your normal bog standard Maktuf position. If I go to my joystick self-check, this is what happens when you hold Viberzrl during your joystick. So I am on square, okay? It's nice and all, but second you press Viberzrl, it hates life and doesn't check it. It literally can't. I wish I could describe to you what I'm doing during my Maktufs, but this is all it looks like. Is just simply go up, get my resets, and apparently I'm just going up and down. But you can see, however, this does prove that I don't let go of base, no matter what. Now, you can actually 360 Mac. You can. It's very scuffed. And the reason why you can't 360 Mac properly is because you don't spin. You cannot spin after the 360 purely because of the flip. The flip isn't a sharp square flip. Do a square flip like this, you carry on spinning. If you hold your Viberzrl, you won't be able to carry on spinning. So that's one of the main issues with a 360 Mac. So I won't be able to teach any funky, flashy, interesting way of doing 360 Macs. All it takes is me to just do a heli movement, tap my air roll, or well, more accurately, hold it, and I should just get my little bounce off. I've got to let go of my my Viberzrl right after I get the reset, or else it doesn't put me in a good position to follow another one, and that's where the awkwardness comes from, switching between letting go of Viberzrl and not. But I hope that's everything. If not, I'll try and cover anything else in the comments. I'll feel bad if I can't, if I haven't covered everything, so please, genuinely try and clear up anything that I've missed, and best of luck, genuinely.